Welcome everybody. Today we dive into a growing concern among parents, educators, and psychologists. Could violent video games be fueling aggression among the youth?
With video games now a staple of adolescent life, researchers are asking tough questions about their psychological impact and its effects. A study article by D. Camp and Ferguson introduces the topic by expressing the violent video games affecting youth has been a popular topic for decades, and politicians and scholars claim that these games strongly contribute to youth violence. The study emphasizes that many other studies have been conducted to find the relationship between violent games and violence, but only some have incorporated methods to control self-selection bias. The data used for this study were collected from the Delaware School Survey, which gathered responses from the 5th, 8th, and 11th grade students. This survey consisted of 203 questions, and the outcome variables in the study measured violence by whether a student would hit someone or participate in a group fight. The study focused on two key predictor variables: video game play exposure, which refers to the amount of time spent playing the video games per week, and violent video game propensity, which is used to control self-selection bias of whether students who choose to play violent video games are allowed to. An example of self-selection bias could be if a student with aggressive tendencies could be more likely to choose violent video games. If this is not accounted for, it could be mistaken for the game causing the aggression. Aside from the two main variables, this study also controls the other possible influences on behavior, including parental attachment, youth disclosure, and parental enforcement, yelling and violence in the home, being hit by an adult, and additional controls such as gender, race, ethnicity, and poverty. Overall, the results of the study showed that violent video games exposure showed minimal due to meaningful impact on youth violence. Instead, a stronger predictor of violence was exposure to family violence or physical abuse.
In addition to that, a research article by Stephen Kirsch, which discusses this topic, reviews the potential reasons and influences of violent video games on adolescents. Kirsch points out many studies and research have assessed the influence of video games on aggression across different age periods rather than from a different developmental perspective. In the article, Kirsch introduces some theoretical explanations for a link between video games and aggression. One theory introduced by Bandura's social learning theory suggests that exposure to violent video games evokes behavioral mimicry, which reinforces existing aggressive habits. Another theory was from Berkowitz's cognitive neo-association model of aggression, which suggests that playing violent video games should create or activate networks of aggressive thoughts, feelings, memories, and beliefs. The last theory presented was from Dodge, which suggests that aggressive children act aggressively due to a hostile bias. An example of this can be a student accidentally bumping into another in the hallway. The bumped student may assume it was done on purpose and respond by yelling or pushing back. Kirsch uses the general aggression model, GAM, to explain the link between violent video games and aggressive behavior. In the article, he says, according to the GAM, violent video games influence aggressive behavior through short-term and long-term effects. The short-term effects of violent video games can be that they act as situational triggers that increase aggressive thoughts, hostile feelings, and psychological arousal. The long-term effects of repeated exposure to violent video games can be reinforcement in aggressive beliefs and attitudes, create aggressive behavioral scripts and expectations, and desensitize players to violence. While the research gives valuable insight, what do everyday people think about the impact of violent video games on the youth?
To find out, we sent our reporter Andy into the community to hear directly from students, parents, and educators. Let's head to the field for those interviews.
So, do you think there is enough parental enforcement in children's lives nowadays?
That's a good question. It seems that a lot more of parents, or both parents, are working, the mom and the dad. When I was growing up, there wasn't so many moms working, and yes, that leaves the child more by themselves time, and they need more supervision. Although it's not impossible, you can raise a good kid. It's just that there's less time and less resources to do
And
it.
may I ask if you're a parent yourself as well?
I am a parent. I have two children.
And as a parent yourself, how would you feel about this, about video games on your children?
It's funny, my son played a lot of video games, and we would restrict the time they'd want to play all night long, and then they'd be tired the next day for school. And so we tried to, in fact, I think I timed the router so they couldn't connect, and he got really mad about that. So yes, there does have to be some supervision on anything that's in excess.
All right, today I'm here on the main campus RSC interviewing a fellow student named
Sebastian Bryan.
and I wanted to ask you, do you think that video games do cause violence to the youth?
I wouldn't say so. I would say it's very diverse about the whole subject, but I would say no.
And do you believe that researchers get their studies wrong about video games causing violence to the youth?
I would say to a certain degree, yeah. I feel like most researchers, they try to post it and cause like a lot of like drama about it, like way more than the actual.
Like in a way, like overreact about
yeah,
it?
yeah. So they get like more clicks on their posts. So I think like most gamers or most people that play video games, I mean, they do show like aggression.
Yeah.
But I don't think to like a degree where like it causes violence against like someone or themselves.
All right, fair enough. And do you know anyone yourself like that have experience with like video game violence?
Well, personally, me, I mean, I played video games my whole life, and I would say like I do get angry sometimes, but I never got that violent.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, I express my violence like someone else.
All right, today I'm here with
Vincent Lopez.
and I wanted to ask you the daunting question. Do you believe that video games correlate with violence?
In my opinion, I do believe that video games can correlate to violence. This is because there are some themes of certain video games, such as Call of Duty or Fortnite. They have very violent themes with like blood and like killing people and guns. And a lot of people and kids can't consume that. And
Especially at like an early age, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that can like make them believe that like violence is good.
Yeah, fair enough.
Normalized for them.
And do you believe that like some researchers get their studies like wrong or inaccurate about like violence in video games?
I don't believe that all researchers do. I do believe that some researchers may get their studies wrong because they look for biased sources or certain evidence that could prove their claim better, but not all of them, no.
Yeah, like they tend to like over exaggerate
They
stuff
tend
on
to
the press.
over-exaggerate certain things to
Yeah.
make something seem worse than it is.
And from like your experience, or do you know anybody with the experience of like violence in video games?
Yes, me actually. It was me and my friend Milo Faisal. We were playing bowling actually on Wii Sports. And then I beat him in bowling, and then he got really upset with me. So then he like smashed me in the forehead with a Wii remote.
Wow, that's quite intense.
It was pretty violent, and it left a bruise on my forehead for a few weeks.
So I guess this does correlate violence and video games together.
Yes,
so,
sir, it does.
But thank you so much for your time.
Of course, anytime. Shout out LaRice.
I want to thank everybody who shared their thoughts. While research continues to explore the effects of violent video games, one thing is for certain: understanding youth behavior means looking at the full picture: family, environment, personality, and the media.